Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and what I'm about to show you is going to go directly and firmly in the All the World's Stage file, /red file 3. I think we've got 3 of them so far. First I wanted to read this. Ripple's federally regulated in the U.S. XRP2 complied with the Bank Secrecy Act as a money transmitter. PolySign is the holding company, which complies with stringent holding policy, and Ripple Labs acts as the face of the software company. Ripple has jumped through the hoops to be where they are. In 2015, they were sued by FinCEN and settled for $700K for non-compliance of anti-money laundering. In July 2023, they had won the case with the SEC, making XRP a non-security. When the verdict comes out regarding what XRP is, you better be ready. If you're not ready, you've missed it. And here we go.
Back to kind of the U.S. jurisdiction, because I agree. I mean, the consistency across jurisdictions is really difficult, as we're all trying to figure this out together too. But with digital assets, at least in the U.S., I mean, Dara, how are they truly regulated? And are they subject to different AML CFT controls? Is it different based on the type of currency or chain it's on?
Sure. Yeah, so I can't speak for other financial regulators, as the financial sector falls under different regulators based on the types of services provided and what risks are being managed, such as safety and soundness. I will say federal regulators are often a floor and not a ceiling, as there are state regulators involved. But in terms of the legal framework for AML CFT in the U.S., we have fairly good visibility provided by financial institutions. Under the Bank Secrecy Act. We're constantly assessing risks and working with our Treasury colleagues to act on those, providing material support to terrorist activities, as we started talking about terrorism. We don't advertise our capabilities, but we work collaboratively in this space across the U.S. government and through public-private partnerships. FinCEN in particular has been at the forefront of regulation as it pertains to supervision of virtual asset service providers. We issued our first guidance on the matter in 2013, ensuring that VASPs in the U.S. undergo compliance examinations, the same as other financial institutions do, and we've been performing those exams since 2014. And we took our first enforcement action in 2015. Earlier this month, I have to give a plug to our $3.4 billion settlement with Binance, which was the largest in U.S. Treasury and FinCEN history. And we're happy to get into it in more detail as this conversation continues, and I think that it will. But in regards to regulation, we regulate the services provided and not particular entities. So that's important to understand, is that we take a technology neutral approach, and that it's about what services are being provided, and does that fall under what we're regulating in terms of money transmission services.
Just to put a really quick point on that, because it is so important. We talk all the time about the need for regulatory clarity and rules of the road in this space. This is the one place, and this is kind of why I love that I get to focus just mostly on illicit finance, is it is clear. This is not the Wild West, right? If you are a cryptocurrency business, and we'll put DeFi aside for a moment, because I think we get a lot more complicated there. If you are a large exchange, if you're a broker, if you're a custodian, you are treated as any money service business for purposes of the Bank Secrecy Act, having those AML controls, which means you have to have robust compliance programs. You have to have policies and procedures, use tools like TRM for transaction monitoring, right? You have to have essentially a bank level AML program. It is very, very clear. I host a podcast, and a couple of years ago, I said on there, I used the term.
After listening to all that, isn't XRP the most regulated digital asset on the planet, or in the United States anyway? I think it is. They were going on about Elizabeth Warren, how she's introduced all these bills and none of them have become law, and so I translated it and called her the congressional loser. And then Vivek Ramsey retweeted the tweet about her and her net worth of $67 million on a $285,000 salary. And he says the math adds up to corruption. GOP and Dems are both bad on this front. Call it bipartisanship. I agree. By the way, when I show, I'm not weighing in on any of these presidential candidates. I've seen people say that this guy is like a wolf in sheep's clothing, and he might be, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I don't trust any of these politicians. So that's not where I stand. John Deaton says her bill is a big deal. 9 U.S. senators have joined her, including Republicans and independents. As I've said, if you're talking about people, Elizabeth Warren is the single biggest threat to crypto in the United States. It's not Gensler, because Gensler takes his marching orders from Warren. So you basically have a communist, ex-Harvard professor communist, who's dictating the future of finance in the United States. That's what you're dealing with. Okay? Now, here's Vivek Ramsey, and listen to who he said she's having these secret closed-door meetings with to plot what she's doing.
With Senator, I'm with Wholesome Crypto. Okay. So Senator Warren from my state, Massachusetts, is known to be building an anti-crypto army. What is your stance on that?
What does that mean?
This is her trying to combat with legislative stances to stop cryptocurrencies, as a whole.
So I would say that one thing that I will say to find a silver lining there is let the debate actually take place in the open in Congress including the Senate. Let the American people actually understand what's at issue here, rather than have it take place in the shadowed back rooms of three-letter government agencies. I disagree with her views, but I think that at least let them be debated in the open in the halls of Congress rather than by bureaucrats, and I think that will be a debate that she'll probably be on the losing side of. And I think that the best people need to show up to make the arguments for both sides. My view is that we need boundless innovation in this country, that the existing regulatory regime has clearly been woefully unsuccessful at preventing fraud or theft. I mean, the fact that on one hand we have potentially impeding a regime that many people feel are impeding innovation, yet something like FTX and SBF's Fraud Act can still happen, says that the current status quo, we're not operating the right way. And so there's multiple different ways you can go in that direction, but I think at least let it happen in the halls of Congress rather than in back rooms.
And then here's another clip.
I think that the regulatory ambiguity around this is the worst of all. Is right now you don't know whether you're operating in a securities law enforced regime or not. And I think that ambiguity is the first thing that has to end. It will end on my watch. I personally have strongly libertarian instincts on this, which is to actually leave it to the market to sort out, so the participants in a DAO or otherwise are going in eyes wide open with the risks. You can't lie to somebody and sell them something or give them something that they're not actually getting. But if you actually understand the participants have full disclosure of what they're getting into, they should be able to make their own decisions. That's my own orientation. But at the very least, let's take the first and easiest step we have, get regulatory clarity that we lack today. And you have my pledge on my watch. We're going to provide that.
All right. Now, I'm not going to go in depth through this thread, but I think that a lot of you should. You know, Cowboy Crypto, he is the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, and he does show some awesome pictures on Twitter, on X, by the way. In my next life, I'm going to be Cowboy Crypto. It looks like he works on some kind of farm or something in Texas, or owns a farm or whatever. But every morning he's got pictures of deer, and he's on the tractor, and he looks like he's living the life. So the Digital Asset Investor in my next life will be broadcasting from a place like where the Cowboy Crypto is. Now, this is a thread that he has put out here, and basically what's interesting about it is Truth Labs, who really is one of these guys who can go back in the blockchain and do these investigations, has been doing a lot on Ethereum and ETHgate and all that. But in this one, he goes through Jed McCaleb and Mount Gox, and he's talking about that, and Cowboy Crypto is helping to tie a lot of these things together. This is interesting. You're going to want to look at that one. Now, I wanted to show you this. Yesterday, this is Red Flag City. Red flag, no pun intended, but I'll write that down because that's a thumbnail. Red Flag City, you know, that country that starts with a C has a red flag, just as a by the way. When I saw this the other day, I immediately knew, well, we've been, how many, before the, well, I'm trying to decide what I can and can't say that has to be in the member group, because there's certain things you can't say in the United States of America anymore. But you remember back when they had that thing, and we were teased about that thing they had where, you know, where the people were wearing the masks and all. People were that was teased for years. Teased is the wrong word. It was like they were intentionally trying to scare people for years about that. Almost like predictive programming, or is that the right word? Yeah, predictive programming, which basically means that somebody somewhere is trying to go ahead and acclimate the people to the idea that something is coming that's probably pre-planned. Well, I don't trust these people as far as I can throw them. So this was played, this was in the last few days. Now, the red flags immediately went up for me. I'm like, oh, okay, so China's behind it.
The Post reveals hackers affiliated with China's People's Liberation Army have infiltrated critical services here in the U.S.
Alexandra Hoff joins us now from our nation's capital. Alex, this is not good.
No, it's not.
I don't believe that. So anyway, I saw the beginning. I don't believe anything that they tell us now, especially in these main media outlets. But here's what we're going to talk about. And then I saw something yesterday, which I'm going to talk about now in the member group. It's at daixrp.com. When I saw this thing yesterday, I was walking on the treadmill and I was watching this thing. And I'm like, man, if they are not telling us that this is going to be done against us, probably by our own government, if that's not what they're telling us here, I would bet dimes to donuts, as Mike Novogratz says, that that's exactly what's going on. Look, folks, I've believed for a long time our country's in a financial situation with this debt, what these politicians have done to us over 100 years, and with the Federal Reserve and all this, they've put us in a situation that cannot be gotten out of. They have to get us out of it in a way that they're not blamed, because if they're blamed, they could have the populace pulling a French Revolution on their butts, which is probably more in line with what they deserve. So what do you have to do? Make it look like it's something that nobody could have controlled. How about that? So anyway, in daixrp.com, I'm gonna go a lot more into that and talk about, and I've also got a wild conspiracy too, which I'm not saying I believe, but I'm going to show you anyway. There's a wild conspiracy going around today. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. daixrp.com. That's where I'll tell you what I really think and the things that I don't think I'm allowed to say out here on YouTube and other places in the United States of America. So here we go.